See, though, like Blue Mini said, they seem to not do well on Cliff. That's Blue Mini saying that 07 doesn't do well on Cliff. So why would they ban that? Like, why would you? I mean, I get it's for the memes, but even still, like if I had an advantage over another team in a map, I would 100% take that advantage.
Well, if a team's struggling at a certain map over and over again, but it's a map they keep playing and not banning, obviously they're trying to hide a different map that they're not good at. So maybe trying to find another map that they're equally as weak at. And the thing is when you keep losing on a map, you're going to be putting more and more time in trying to fix what's wrong.
Right. So maybe by eliminating, I don't know. It's just
there's a whole.
He kind of said it jokingly, but at the same time, I don't like that.
It does raise a serious question, yeah. And there's a whole bunch of different levels of mind games and whatnot you can play with each other. However, the maps that we have tonight should be rather interesting. A couple of them I don't really favor 07 on, so we'll have to see.
Well, let's go ahead and head right into the first map between Team 07 and Team High.
Himmelsdorf, a small city map. The teams start the battle in opposite corners. Both bases are located close to each other, but in a way that you can't stay on the defensive all the time. The main attack routes pass through the hill, the alley and the railroad, but in general, the attack can be successfully executed through any part of the map. Heavy tanks and tank destroyers with powerful guns run the show here. However, a lot depends on the mobile light tanks.
And here is the lineup for the very first battle between 07 and High. It's going to be 07 coming in with a pretty heavy lineup here. It's going to be an E3, T110 E3, a 113, two 215Bs, two AMX 50Bs, and then the 1390 as the light tier 8 scout. And then on the side of High, we're going to have two 215Bs as well, another T110 E3, a Batchat, as well as a 50B, an IS-4, and again, another 1390, which is, I feel like, the light tank to bring on Himmelsdorf.
Now, I'm kind of curious because that actually means that the attacking side, 07, bringing a T110 E3, we'll have to see how they use it. A rather slow tank doesn't leave them a lot of flexibility in the long run.
That is an American tank destroyer, correct?
Correct. The turretless tank destroyer, not the fastest of tanks.
No.
So,
no, it's definitely not.
Where he goes could be a telltale sign of their strat. Now, the thing is they could show him in one side and rotate out to another. So just something to keep an eye on. Blue Mini choosing to open up in the south, and then they also opting to use the Batchat down there as a scout, getting him down into that J1 building. 1390 trying to look through the little gaps in the building there.
I forget who it was. It might have been Chase Potato, I almost want to say. I forget the player who was in the 1390 that held that postcode right around... oh, man, where was that postcode? It was right around, I want to say, D3 or D4, where the 1390 literally won the match for his team. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
Potato, yeah, he was stuck down there into that F7 corner right where these two 15Bs and the 113 are. And by being there, he could proxylate any tank that moves by a 50-meter prox range.
Yes, it was F7. Excuse me. Wow, I was way off. I said D3 and D4.
Yeah, now... High obviously choosing not to use that in this case. However, it's a very good spot just because of the prox range. When you're within 50 meters, it doesn't matter what obstacles are between you and the other tank. They just assume that the tanks being there, being loud enough, essentially, will know each other are there, and they'll light each other. So just kind of a little interesting tidbit there. The 215s are set up to punish that cross, oddly enough. However, the 1390 there, not really able to get any lights. He does light Makos as he moves across the G line there. But he actually didn't get anything onto EXO or onto Zone Delta or Static as they moved up the 8 line.
Yeah, so something also really interesting to note here is Himmelsdorf, as we've normally seen it, is much more of a slow map. We've seen one or two instances where it's been an all-out brawl very, very early, but this is kind of something to expect from this map and this play.
And there's a lot to be said for the build-up on this map. The early positioning and setup says a lot, how you read the other team. And we can see some cheeky strats. We've certainly seen some south baits. We've seen, especially over in a couple of the other regions recently, I've seen some battles that pretty much entirely took place in the south, away from the caps, just because of how both teams set up. However, not what's happening right now. This T110 E3 still just chugging across the hill, looking to finally get in position. He did stop and try to get some shots across the D line early. However, he's finally here to crawl in there. I would expect to see him most likely hold down at B0 and try to deny that lane. However, Fulcrest and the other T110 E3 opposite of him will be shooting back. With these tank destroyers having pretty high penetration, the T110 E3's armor may not be enough. So we'll have to see. And he's choosing to hold here, waiting for these tanks to get in position. Fosta's actually going to go full speed down the hill and cross right behind him and get up into that A0 corner. Meanwhile, the 215B is hoping to catch Ali, the Persian dude, out.
Yeah,
he's a little bit sloppy.
He's at that corner right now, just trying to spot anything that comes down that hill or the A-line, but we'll see if he is going to actually spot anything at all, considering he's actually turned looking backwards, potentially to get a shot on any tank that tries to set up right there at about B6, B7, that little corner of that 2-cap.
Yeah, absolutely. And looking at it real quick, this highest force position right here is really going to make it hard to get onto that cap. He's close enough to proxlite this north corner at A7, so if they try to put a 113 anywhere there, he can just pull forward and get some reset shots, and then he can also reverse side scrape and back away to where he can get some shots.
Yeah, and there it is, Fosta coming right in that little corner I was just talking about. Ali, the Persian dude, might see him if he moves a little forward, but he's actually going to check on the alpha line, and he's going to find that there's nothing there at all.
Yep, so Fosta's going to go ahead and get a toe onto cap, and there's a very tight shot left for this I-7 to pick up, dude.
I don't think Ali, the Persian dude, can actually hit that shot unless he somewhat commits a little bit around that corner, in which he's going to find a very mean surprise of Zone Delta, as well as...
So he can get a reset shot there, especially in HE shell. He'll do what we call reverse side scraping, which is what it looks like he's setting up to do right now. So side scraping is when you back away from a corner with just your side showing. Now, when your side is angled like that, the effective armor on it becomes extremely thick. The IS-4 does have pretty good side armor to begin with. And so what he's doing is he's using the corner of the clock tower right there to hide the back of his tank. And as he pulls away, he'll open up an angle to where his gun can shoot that corner. And the only thing exposed on his tank is the side armor.
Correct. But real quick, actually, as we see, Blue Mini is kind of going for a little cheeky flank here on not only Rocks, but as well as Exo and the 50B. Now, the thing to note is yes, sure, he can do the side scrape, but if he leaves himself a little too open on that alpha line, he can actually get tagged. But nice shot for the reset. It's going to go right onto Fosta, as we see a few more shots coming up, but not making any contact from the team of 07.
And the thing to keep an eye on, another thing to keep an eye on right now is this Blue Mini in this 1390 has gotten up on this hill already, and he has the bat chat of Romstar up there to cover him, and they could essentially get a free kill onto this T110E3.
So here's the problem as well, James. 4 minutes only left here, about 4 minutes, 20 seconds left for the team of 07 to really make some sort of a play here.
And the thing to keep an eye on is High have done a very good job at keeping their tanks away. The
Absolutely.
IS-4 is the only tank close enough to really be vulnerable to a push, and they have these tanks up on the hill where they can get some free shots on this T110E3. However, they don't have to commit, and it's going to leave 07 just trying to chase this battle, trying to find a way to start a brawl, and with only 3.5 minutes left, or 3:50 left, excuse me, it's going to be very hard.
It's going to be tough, yeah, and this is kind of almost the same thing we saw out of Team Rival, which was they waited way too long on steps, way too long, and that cost them the round in which they had a tank advantage.
Absolutely, and so something... And well, as I say that, they're going to start this push. They're going to commit these 215Bs around the corner.
And they're going to go right for that IS-4 of Ali, the Persian dude, and he's going to take a little bit of damage. He needs to trade out as much as he possibly can. He knows he's going to go down. And here comes the 50B on the other side of him of Exo, and he is going to go down indeed. 30 seconds now with cap pressure to build. 07 in a much better situation than they were just about 3 minutes ago. And Fulcris in the E3 is going to take out Rocks.
So bailing out Romstar. Romstar came in there and whiffed a couple shots, a little bit uncharacteristic of him. Romstar known for being very, very consistent, but having the higher angle there, wasn't able to get a clean shot on the lower plate, couldn't overmatch the roof of the T110E3. The top armor on a lot of tanks is normally very, very thin, and so when you have an elevated angle, you can shoot down into it and normally pen. Not the case on all the tanks, but especially a tank like a T110E3, it's a good bet when you're that high up. However, not coming in there, not able to do the damage, and if it wasn't for the T110E3 Fulcris, he would be dead right now. We're not to say dead, but
nice
down
little
800
trade there.
HP.
Romstar is going to get a shot off, but he's going to take a little damage himself for his trouble. That 50B is also an auto loader. However, it is a much heavier one, but with only 9 seconds left, 5 seconds left now, High needs to make a reset. They're going to get it 23 seconds, but they lost quite a bit of HP in the process. Feel My Potato taking quite a bit of damage and going down a Warbender now as Fosta comes in and gets shots onto Magenta Panda as well as Static. This is looking very, very grim here for High, although they are staying in the fight. 07 is at an advantage as they now have the HP pool advantage just barely, but still much more HP on Static and Warbender, whereas most of the HP coming out of Team High is actually on Blue Mini, which is in a Tier 8 light autoloader.
And the thing is right now, well, they need to find a reset here. They only have 15 seconds to retake this cap. 07 deciding to just tuck in against that clock tower right there. And it's going to make it very hard for them to get resets.
DRS, I mean, if he's going to come in here, Warbender is looking right at that angle. He's going to
3
eat shots.
seconds.
2
They're not going to get
left,
the resets.
They're just going
to
to let it fall.
move. And High are going to walk away. Excuse me, 07 are going to walk away
with the round. I mean, and I saw that the second I was looking at DRS. He looked very hesitant. He was trying to scrape and get the angle on that corner just in case there was a tank looking at him. Unfortunately, he took way too long to even make that play, and no one else was actively looking for the reset aside from him. So they took too long, and they kind of threw away that game.
Well, I think what happened there was they were trying to discuss how to close out that round, but they left Blue Mini up on the hill, and what you can speculate there is they were trying to create a situation where they could just run him away, and so even if the other 2 tanks die, they still run out the clock.
The problem is they didn't get the reset for that to happen.
They didn't move the other 2 tanks quick enough into position, maybe taking a little bit too long to coordinate there, and they did a good job at building up that cap pressure, because what you got to remember is they were still building up cap pressure while they were killing the other tanks there. 1390 was on cap the whole time, so even with Static and that 113 coming in late, they were building up some cap pressure, and so when all of a sudden they were able to jump all 3 onto the cap pressure, it didn't leave a very big window for them to make a response. And they just hesitated just a little bit too long. Looking at the damage, Warbender in that 50B doing 3,000 damage. Fulcurus, Romstar, Peel and Potato coming up next for High. 2,800, 2,400, and 2,000. Decent damage out of them. Exo, Rocks, and Static all sitting around just under 2,000. But then looking at the second page, Blue Mini in the 1390 not able to do a whole lot, but he only fired once. Kind of an interesting thing to know. I mean, that 1390 only getting off 1 shot, and he was still alive at the end of the battle, so you got to kind of wonder if they could have utilized him a little bit better. Foster did push in there late. Had trouble penetrating some of the shots from the angles he was there, but he did manage to just
the Persian dude. I mean, the IS-4 only doing 1,000. He tried. Unfortunately, he literally got swarmed and unable to really be that effective. So
the thing with the spot that Ali the Persian dude played, it's a very effective spot at stopping that north cap. However, the problem is that you need to make sure that he is thoroughly supported.
Correct.
Because what happens there, they pushed in, and they didn't really even punish the tanks from 07 a whole lot until Romstar was able to clear that E3 out, essentially, to get him to turn, and then they kind of got into it. But the problem was that they took a while to adjust. They only had a couple guns shooting through that angle, and because of the angle they were shooting back from around C3, or B3 over there in that corner, and they had shots across the north. They didn't really have too many solutions along that south end of cap right there, and so they were able to pull all the tanks into there, shoot Ali the Persian dude with minimal guns shooting back, except for that E3. Yeah. But once again, that E3 was shooting up the hill to take out the other E3, so it just kind of, traded a little bit, and 07 just managed to, do what they needed to do, kill enough tanks, make them move, get Fulcurus out, and start that cap pressure while other tanks kind of scrambled to get together and come up with a solution, and then the clock just ran out.
Yeah, indeed it is, and it looks like actually Blue's computer might have went down and acid premise. So it's going to be a couple seconds before we get into this next battle. Looks like, no, they're definitely going to wait. Okay, anyways, yeah, like you said, way too much hesitation, I think, on Team High's part. And I like the strategy, don't get me wrong, of keeping Blue Mini up there just in case they were able to get the resets. But again, they hesitated on that. I saw DRS in the hesitation while I was watching him. He was trying to kind of scrape and angle himself in the position where if he did end up taking a shot, it wouldn't be devastating, especially by all 3. But you have to realize that at that point, there's only 3 tanks left, all of which are capped. They're not all going to be looking at the same angle. So maybe taking a little bit of risk there would have definitely helped out, specifically when you are banking on the fact that you have that 251 on the hill to run away. So even suiciding in there for the reset, because the time was very low. So
yep, exactly. And if what we're hearing is correct from production, it may be that Blue Mini actually crashed up there. So he was actually not doing that intentionally. He was just stuck up on the hill, disconnected from the game.
Right.
And so that would obviously explain a lot of the issues that went on there. It was really kind of odd that he didn't really get involved. He didn't help with that E3. So just kind of curious.
And it was a
that
cheeky
would make
little
sense.
flank, too, because he got there early.
Yeah,
I mean, he got there really early.
So that would explain a lot. However, waiting to see if he reconnects, or they may have to start without him.
Which would be a 7-on-6 situation. Which
if
is
they don't have
unfortunate.
anyone on the bench. So if they are a man down, we could see someone, maybe even Meadowhawk, jump in here, because he doesn't normally play. He should have the game, be in there. So if, actually, Meadowhawk's on their team. What am I talking about?
What are you talking about?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Well, but High, who else would be on the bench for High?
I don't know. Well, let's take a quick look one more time at the standings while we wait. And it's going to be telling quite the story once again. Many teams at relegation threat.
No, absolutely. And High, starting off poorly, trying to get some points here. Already one round down. Any amount of points that they could get here would move them out of that 9th place position. All, rival High and get flanked, all tied on 7 points. Right now, it does look like it would be get flanked going down if they all remain tied. However, they're not going to want to risk get flanked managing to pick up a round.
Yep, and then, of course, Team CD is also in a very interesting position, by the way, which is what I was talking about a little bit there. If their next match is going to be against, if I'm not mistaken, we had it. CD is going to be playing...
CD next will be going up versus, I believe it was Eclipse.
Eclipse, yes. So that's their next match. Eclipse feels fairly confident there. And something else I want to just note, just in case, which I know many of you are actually keeping track of fantasy teams right now, the leaderboards for damage dealt. The top 2 spots are actually both from Team CD as we look at the standings and where they sit at in the overall league. They have the top 2 damage farmers technically in the league right now. And that's going to be Pompous Magnus sitting at 91,000, followed by Smiley Rage at 85,000.
And the funniest thing to think about there is when we talked to Smiley Rage the other day, he'd been calling up until recently. So the fact that he was
and
able...
that's all caller damage technically.
Yeah, so he's second in the damage in the league, damage being dealt as a caller. The fact that he's able to multitask like that is rather impressive. And then in third place is Vetro with 8,200 damage. So not a whole lot of surprise there. Vetro always known to be a huge damage
and
farmer.
Then following it fourth is Bales from Aquatic M60s at 81,000, and then Master People just under that at 81,000. But again, looking at the leaderboards for assist spotting, it's going to be 3 members of Team CD.
So one thing I do want to point out about the damage being dealt, though, real quick, is the team in first right there is Apex.
Right.
They don't have a single person in the top 5 on damage dealt.
They don't have anyone in damage dealt. They actually don't have anyone in the assist spotting as I'm looking at the notes here. In fact, if we look to the assist on D-Tracks, that's actually the only place they're at, and that's going to be with the Doma, sitting at 6127.
So,
I mean, looking at this, you would think that the top team in the league right now is actually Team CD.
And part of that has to do with just how the whole team's performing.
Right.
With Apex playing as well as they are, and the whole team.
Yeah, and we've seen lopsided numbers there from Team CD as well. I mean, where you'll have these members on top, and then the rest of them will be all the way at the bottom, sub 1K. So.
And that's something kind of to think about. Last season, Apex, then known as Noble, there was typically a lot of outliers throughout the season. You'd see Dodoma doing an insane amount of damage one round, doing like almost 5,000, and then the next round would be Canadian Impact, and it kind of alternated. This season, there haven't been a whole lot of outlier matches. Now, don't get me wrong, a lot of them have been playing very consistently. Dodoma's constantly top 1 or 2 damage.
Very solid. The entire team has been very consistent.
Yeah, but when you have a whole team that's in that mindset of let's get tanks dead, and they're all spreading it out, they're all focusing fire, it's hard for one person to kind of excel and take off on that list. In these sort of situations, like Pompous, for example, tends to play like a Grill 15 off from the rest of his team, where he can just sit there and pump shot after shot after shot while it's his teammates getting shot.
But, I mean, even looking at this, you see Smiley Rage with him in damage, and then you see Baby Halo Fixer reloaded as well. I mean, that's 1, 2, 3, that's 5 members of Team CD being at the top of the leaderboards right now. And you would expect with these numbers for them to be slightly higher than where they are in the rankings and the standings right now.
Yeah,
but
no, exactly.
That's not the story. So, and we are going to be going into it in just a moment. I believe we're inviting Dramatic. But either way, that might be a player down for one of these teams here.
Now, Dramatic will be coming in for high, and they have Permatrash sitting here on the bench as well, so that they have the players. Just a matter of getting the right people invited. So Blue Mini crashing. Now, the other thing to keep a note is, I think for high, it's been Blue Mini doing a lot of the calling.
What if that was actually the reason? Maybe he crashed during that game. I mean, he wasn't moving.
Yeah, no, certainly.
Which would honestly just kind of suck.
Yeah, well, I'd be 2v3 in that situation, and they did hesitate. So that hesitation may also be a signal that their caller was indeed gone if it's blue calling. And then, so that could even compound right now going forward. So a lot of the flag,
we just actually threw it high that could have actually not been their fault, which
it could have been the fault of Blue Mini.
Well, or his computer. I mean, either way you want to slice it.
Yep.
But that is unfortunate, and that's could be the reason why High ate that loss. But regardless, 07 did play very well there, and they took that win. And it still could have been a very hairy situation, regardless of whether or not Blue Mini did or did not disconnect. But it's not even really...
Well, he certainly disconnected. Now, a matter of when, I'm not
that's what
for sure. I'm going to assume it was before that round was over. And looking at it, now think about it. If he was the one calling, he's not here right now.
So who is going to call on his behalf for Team High?
Yeah,
I mean,
I know
formerly caller wanted, that actually fits the bill right now. Who's going to be calling for Team High?
Yeah, no kidding. So in my experience with Romstar, he definitely is smart enough and has the mind to call if he had to, but he's never been that person that calls. He's always been that team player that kind of steps up and is consistent. So he kind of he could step into that role. However, if they manage to pick off a win here, we'll definitely have to ask him in the post-game interview who stepped up when Blue dropped. So something to keep an eye on. The other thing I want to know is Blue Mini's played the tier 8 through this whole season. So who's going to drop down?
Right.
Who's going to drop down and play that tier 8?
Or unless potentially, I mean, they bring a bat shot instead. We have seen that.
There were some tier 9s, however, not going to be the case. And spoiler alert, it's actually going to be Magenta Panda dropping into that 1390.
So, I mean, looking at the lineups here, DRS again in a 215B. Dramatic is actually going to be stepping in. He's going to be in an E5. We see Fulkerson in IS7, a 50B out of Ali the Persian Dude and Feel My Potato, and then we are going to have Romstar in the grill, and like you said, Magenta Panda in the 1390.
Yep. Meanwhile, the side of 07 and E3, 250Bs, 113, two 215Bs, and a 1390, a very similar lineup to the one they actually just ran on attack. Deciding to go with that E3 on defense. We'll have to see if they use him the same. However, Dramatic being the player that got subbed in here, I don't recall actually seeing him play so far this season. However, available to be called upon when someone goes down, whether it's Blue Mini's power going out, his computer crashing, who knows? Well, I'm sure we'll find out soon. But that being said, it looks like business as usual for High. The Grill 15 sitting around H9, looking for some shots across that G line.
And we actually just saw EXO in the exact same spot in the exact same tank of Ali the Persian Dude last battle.
Yep, that 50B just chilling up there on the hill, looking for some early damage. And it's actually a really cheeky spot out of Fosta sitting there, just able to get some lights from E3, so they'll know if they push across and up that 8 line, which is what they're going to do right now. Magenta Panda moving up, making sure there's nothing in that little corner, and Fulcrus is going to go ahead and push on right by.
Fulcrus and Magenta Panda actually going to get lit as well. And that's actually really good information for the team of 07. And as I say that, they land a shot onto Fulcrus. And every single tank, aside from the grill and the other 50B here for Team High, is actually going to be pushing up that very same 7 line. So, I mean, this is, I would almost say, somewhat of a risky play to move all the tanks at once.
You know, and it's going to, they are all going to be spotted at this point, so they're going to know they're all in the north, only leaving that grill 15 up on the hill. However, 07 don't have a bat shot. They only have the 1390 and 250B, so we'll have to see if they risk pushing any of them off by themselves or splitting up their forces altogether. And the other thing to keep an eye on is 07 is actually running the same defense, essentially, that High ran the round before.
Yeah, we'll have to see. This time, potentially no disconnects, so we'll see a little more of a cohesive team out of High, but either way, I'm very curious to see how they're not going to tackle this, as we noticed the 50B and the 1390 here from 07. They know that every single tank, for the most part, is going to be up somewhere in that northeast, in the northeast postcodes, so they are going to be able to move pretty freely across the map here. I don't know if that was, again, a great idea to show all of that all at once.
Yep, so another thing to keep an eye on here is if you've noticed, Romstar choosing to bring rations instead of a first aid kit. The first hit he took in that Grill 15, losing his commander. So no longer going to have 6 sets for the duration of the round. Going to be lacking Brothers in Arms since his commander's down. Brothers in Arms only working if all the crew members are alive and have it. So, just the downside there of running rations. You do get the benefit of the speeded up reload. So a little bit unfortunate for him there, but that's the risky run. Cap pressure slowly building up as Magenta Panda sits on that corner. And it's going to be up to Exo to find a reset. Once again, sitting here in this IS-4. We'll just slowly reverse out and try to reverse side scrape to find a shot on Magenta Panda. And the other thing, if you're looking at the mini-map, there actually aren't any tanks sitting over at A0, so he can actually back up freely and not be punished.
But of course, I mean, he doesn't know that.
Yeah, he doesn't know that. However, he's just going to back up. First shell goes right on the track, just through that little gap.
Regardless of whether or not it was a bounce, it is going to be a reset.
And now he can just sit there. He basically can't take any damage. It looks like Ali the Persian dude's going to set up, fire some shots.
Right behind him, yep.
Was that an HE shell out of a 50B? Oh, that is cheeky. That is extremely cheeky. The AMX 50B has an HE shell, has an HE clip loaded, not just one shot, because he cannot load a shot.
Shell.
It's the entire clip. So all 4 rounds that he's firing right now.
Yeah.
Were HE, so we'll have to see if he can bring any more, trying to chip away at some damage to that side-scraping IS-4 without, just sort of pushing, trying to find shots on an IS-4, reverse side-scraping in the position like he's in right now through that gap is going to be near impossible. So the only option they really have is that HE spam. The HE, the common saying is HE at least always does damage. The thing is it'll only do a lot of damage unless it pens, so you can kind of slowly chip away. And when you can't really get a good penetrating angle, it is an option. I've seen it before.
He's just gonna dump that entire clip just so he can get rid of it.
Yeah, teams when they've brought E100s, we saw that a couple times last season. They definitely became less meta because they're not as flexible. But when they did bring E100s, or even we saw it on Ghost Town with that big 152mm gun, they can sit there and just fire HE shells, and those HE shells do a lot of damage. So when they don't penetrate, they still do 300-400. And finally, another shot, 215B moving up with the HES shells now. So a little bit different than the HE, but still trying to chip away.
They're trying it all.
So Ali the Persian dude probably only having the one clip of HE, fired it off and said, all right, someone else come waste your HE. And to be fair,
there we go. I mean, still
20
damage, but finding the shots, though, there onto DRS, as now the team of High is starting to slowly move in, and they're going to have to. Only 4 minutes left, 4 minutes, 40 seconds, with still 10 seconds left. Now 9, 5 seconds, 4. They're trying to push this as fast as possible. One reset, but still may not be enough. As we are down to 3 seconds, the entire team of 07 is pushing in.
They're blocking for
Magenta.
They're blocking. They don't get the reset.
Oh, but there's the reset.
No,
are you kidding me?
Not a full reset, though. They still need to find Magenta. They don't
there
get
it is.
And High walk away with the win without their caller.
Wow.
So, not having a caller, still figuring it out.
Ballsy play, let me tell you.
Well, and part of that, you have to look, with that IS-4 of Exo just being chipped away at, he stopped poking to get the reset because he was tired of taking damage, and then he just forgot to get that reset. And once that 1390 had a majority of the cap points, I want to pull it up here real quick just because I'm curious. 1390 of, where is he? Magenta Panda. He had 97 capture points, so he
Maybe
had a
Blue Mini should sit out a little.
might help him in their current position.
That's a shot at Blue, but I really enjoy the kid. But anyways, still, please continue.
So he backed off trying to get those resets because he was just getting chipped away from the HE spam, the HES spam.
But see, the damage wasn't comparable enough for me to think that he still should have gone in and made some sort.
Oh, he absolutely should have. But the thing is that when you're sitting in that sort of position, they're looking for the shots. And you're constantly just taking shots, you're just over and over again, just taking a little bit of damage. And you're just going to sit there and kind of get annoyed, kind of tilted as you were, to some people. And so you stop poking. And then what they did is once they got that cap to about 85, they jammed another tank in front to screen. The tank that was on cap first has the most cap points.
And that was the 1390.
And they never got a reset shot on him. And so he managed to sit there. They blocked for him. They moved 50Bs on both sides of him. Very smart there, predicting a south play coming around. Looking at the damage, Makos in that 50B, a majority of it HE spam. Or not out of Makos. He did 2,000 damage.
It was Ali the Persian dude in the 50B.
And then the 215B there of DRS did another 325.
I mean, overall, it was a very low damage game, and for obvious reasons. There wasn't really anything going on until the initial cap pressure, and I really do like what Team High did there, where they came in very late. As soon as the cap pressure built a little bit, I think it was around like 50, or no, it was around 25 seconds. They just threw 2 more tanks onto the cap, and then they threw a 4th one on, not necessarily to try to get the time down lower, because again, you cap out at 3 tanks on a cap. But they did it so that they could confuse and also create one more target for the team of 07 to shoot, and that worked out beautifully.
That strat was all in on making sure that 1390 doesn't get reset. And so once again, not only did they show their tanks on there to speed up the cap, with that 1390 already having a majority of the cap points, he was already up to about 90 at that point.
Right.
The other tanks eating the shells, he just never got reset. They're big tanks. They can't really shoot over them. They couldn't find an HE reset on them. And it just managed to let the cap
One of
pressure
the
build
resets
up.
were on one of the heavier tanks, and it brought it back up from 0 to 5 seconds. But even still, that little 1390 of Magenta was tucked in so well on that corner that I had talked about earlier in that game. And they just were able to cover him, and they were literally throwing their tanks in front of him. Yep. And it was awesome. It was a very good strat. It was very risky, because had that not worked, I'm pretty sure 07 would have been able to clean up there, because a lot of damage was going on to the team of High. But, I mean, hey, it worked, and I thought it was very exciting to see, because it really could have gone either way.
Yep, so getting some news here from the offline match. Aquatic M60s is up 2-0 against Siebel de Tweet. Okay,
so Aquatic M60s still showing that they are ready to start dominating again. If they can, as long as they can play the way that they have been playing, I definitely see them doing very well. They're obviously well onto their way to the next round.
And the other thing to keep an eye on is Siebel de Tweet aren't clear yet. We've been talking a lot about High, get flanked, and rival. CD are only on 8 points.
Yep.
So now it's more than likely it's going to be one of those 3 teams that's going to get the drop. However, if they all do manage to pick up wins, that could completely change the landscape down there. Now, Get Flanked already playing. The win that they get from the bye tonight is what puts them on 7 points. Yes, it won't be going from 7 to 10, which would be huge at this point. However, 2 teams tied at 7, and High still playing right now. It's 1-1. They could get the points. They may not. We'll have to see.
Well, let's go ahead and head on to the next map between 07 and Team High.
Ruinberg, a mixed-type map. The defending team starts the battle on the green, and the attacking team starts at the centre square of the town. Bases are located quite far from each other. Both bases are better controlled from the village when playing a heavy setup. It's better to attack the first base through the top direction with the help of several well-armoured heavy tanks. For the attack on the second base, it's better to use a more mobile setup and either play through the centre or split forces. In general, the map is not easy to play on. Teams often use blind shots and risky shifting of the forces from one flank to another.
We are on to battle number 3, and the 113 spam is absolutely real. High bringing 4 113s, a Batchat, and 2 Tier 9 Batchat APs. Meanwhile, looking at 07, also deciding to go for a Tier 9 lineup, bringing the 2 T10s, 2 Object 430s, 2 215Bs, and a AMX 50B.
I really wish we saw more of the T49 Tier 8 lights. I love that tank. That cannon on the thing is nuts.
If we see it again this season, it'll most likely just still be on mines, maybe Cliff.
Right. I mean, and I understand why. I really like how much damage is in that little package of a tank. But anyways, back to these lineups. I apologize. I was reminiscing.
Fulcrest going up here looking for the scout, and both these 413s very cheekily pushing all the way down south, and they will most likely get down to Kilo 0.
This could potentially be very bad. However, they are at K0, which is a very good hold-down spot, very good hold-down spot for these tanks.
Now, the problem is that the 430s are not good hold-down tanks, though. Their turret armor is rather weak. The front plate is all right.
And Warbander is going to get erased, literally erased.
And Mako's still down there, but DRS in that Batchat AP is going to push up, it looks like. But Jits Panda shooting towards the north.
Very quick game here as we already start. Ali the Persian dude is going to take quite a bit of damage. Static as well, going to take a lot of damage. Ali the Persian dude needs to get back behind either Dramatic, but he doesn't get so. And I'm very surprised Dramatic didn't try to pull up ahead and take some damage as he goes down. But Feel My Potato also getting a trade on Static. And Zone Delta now finds himself in a very tough situation. He got 3 tanks in front of him as well as 1 going around the flank. Mako's taking quite a bit of damage there in the back down at Kilo 0, and it's going to be a very quick round if High is able to clean this up. But Mako's actually fighting back. He knows that DRS is out of a clip, and he's going to chase him all the way down and take him out as Exo also takes down another tank from Team High.
Magenta Panda did get loaded. He will finish off Makos, but not before he did find that kill on DRS.
Yeah, and now we do still have a slight, and I say slight tank lead in favor of Team High, but still most of the HP is actually going to be in favor of Team 07 as they have 3 tanks almost at full HP.
They managed to turn this around while those Batchats had to deal south. They were able to get into this fight. The EXO got through some clips. However, Rock's getting focused out.
And Feel My Potato is actually going to go down here as well, reloading the clip. Rock's only 36 hit points left, but still a gun nonetheless. He is ammo racked, and he does have his fuel being damaged as well, which means he's going to be a little slower, and he's going to reload a heck of a lot longer, but still finding shots as Magenta Panda as he goes down to Fosta. Very nice trade, but Dramatic now taking down Fosta, and it is a 2-on-1 situation with Fulcris almost reload. Actually, Fulcris is less than halfway reloaded. Excuse me, it's Dramatic that was reloading his shell in the 113. That isn't an autoloader, so he is going to have a little higher bit of a DPM as far as burst goes.
So he is going to try to run away. Dramatic should snap a shot off as he runs, but he misses, puts it into the dirt.
That 50B is reloaded 4 shells. Fulcris needs to be careful in that Batchat. He isn't reloaded quite yet. As EXO is going to fire a shot, and he cannot miss. He's going to drop his clip immediately and run.
Yeah, well, he knows that he can't kill Dramatic by himself.
No.
And EXO, he could have killed EXO, but he wouldn't have had anything left, so he chose to drop his clip and just run right then. However, the thing is still, even at this point, 1 clip is not enough to kill both of these tanks. He needs to put 2 into Fulcris to kill him. Even a high roll on 1 shot is not enough to kill the Batchat at 614. Meanwhile, Dramatic on 1100, that's at least 3 shots, and there is a chance of multiple shells rolling in low, and it could leave him coming up short.
Yep, Fulcris now going to look for the shot. He's going to find it, but he's going to miss as Fulcris takes a little bit of damage. This actually just became quite in favor of 07 as long as he can play this right.
So the thing is here is Dramatic needs to eat some shells.
Oh, he's going to eat a little bit from Fulcris there. Now he's going to back out and totally try to take out Dramatic, but unfortunately he didn't have enough, and now Dramatic is going to chase him down again in a 113. He's not going to have a clip to deal with. He's going to reload substantially faster as he is now going to get the kill shot in about 2 seconds. Dramatic cleaning it up for Team High. Still, I mean, that wasn't bad. He almost had it in that little 50B. Well, it's not a little, it's a heavy, but he found shots on a Fulcris, and then he looked at Dramatic and he snapped off a few shots there. If he was just able to get in a little better cover and get away from the situation, he could have come back and actually one-shot them each, but...
Yeah, well, the problem where that game was really lost was early on with those 430s getting caught out.
Yeah.
Those 430s, teams keep bringing them.
That was a very gutsy play, especially on defense.
Yeah, and I get what they're going for. However, the problem is the 430 has a turret that can pretty easily be overmatched. With all those 113s, they fire the heat shells. Their heat shells are pretty good at going through those Russian turrets.
Right.
And so because they pushed up towards that Delta village, they got on the high ground where they were at least level. And those 430s, because those Batchats moved in across the south, they were lit. I believe it was Fulcris and that Batchat made that early scout run and got them light as they went down there. And there was just nowhere for them to go. And that's the only thing that could have kept them alive was their camo. The problem was because they got spotted early and the Batchats went
got spotted
south.
Very early.
They stayed lit. They weren't able to do anything. Now, if they can get unlit, they can kill the tanks quickly with them. They do have an insane amount of DPM to pump out. Looking at EXO doing 4,000 damage, then Fulcris and the Batchat doing 3,200. Going on to the second page, Feel My Potato at 1,600, Zone Delta at 1,500, both trailing for their teams. But looking at it, Warbander coming in down there with only 2 shots of damage in that object for 30.
Yeah, and like you said, I mean, the 430's not the best hold-down tanks. I mean, they are Russian tanks, but it's definitely not an IS-7 or anything to that effect. And that's also the problem. Like, you would love to have an IS-7 down in that position down at Kilo Zero, but the problem is those tanks are so slow, they wouldn't even make it there in time. And I mean, even the 430, which is a faster tank, didn't make it in time.
Yeah, and the thing is when you push a tank down there into that bottom corner, you have to move your tanks along the zero line in a position to support. If you don't have a tank committed down there, there's no reason for you to stick your neck out that far early. So there is something to be said about some of the strats we've seen some other teams, but we'll get back to that in a minute. It is 2-1. High deciding to bring a Batchat, 2 215Bs, a 50B, an IS-4, a 113, and a 1390. Meanwhile, 07 going with their own 113 spam, bringing 3 113s, a Batchat, a 1390, a Grill 15, and Fosta in that 1390. So it's deciding to still bring that object 430. The 430, great DPM.
It's not a bad choice. It's just the way in which they used it.
Yeah, and it appears that we actually have a disconnect. So we will be restarting the second disconnect that we've had this series.
Not too good here for these teams tonight. A lot of issues in the online connectivity. So
yeah, maybe some internet issues somewhere.
Maybe
in the
07 will lose their caller and they'll start winning matches too. I don't know, but either way, it's been working for High ever since Blue Mini left. They've won 2.
Yep. So getting an update.
What does that say about Blue Mini?
Ouch! Shot fired.
I'm just kidding.
So
again, I Blue Mini's like one of my favorite.
The offline scores coming in. M60's up 3-0 over CD. So continuing on that just display of
domination, as they say.
Yep.
They don't say that.
Yep. So you are being told to back out of the garage so that we can continue on with our night.
I may or may not decide to back out the garage.
Well, everyone out there watching, blame Dustin.
I just backed out of the garage.
The delay.
Yeah, but again, I mean, the reason why I'm taking fake shots again because I really do enjoy Blue Mini. He's one of my favorite people to play with as well as watch because he is. You know how I love my tier 8 light players. I really do like those guys. But right now, the fact that he's gone and they've won before, obviously with Blue Mini calling, he's a good caller, but whoever is calling right now for Team High is doing a very good job.
Yep, and I don't know for sure that it is Blue doing the calling. However,
So you lied to me.
I'm relatively
certain.
certain.
This whole time that I've been making these statements, thinking that I'm 100% correct,
he has called.
You have literally BS'd me under the rug.
He called all last season, and I believe he's continued going
This
in.
This is who they have me casting with, everyone.
Ouch. So relatively certain it is still the case. He has been. When I last talked to him, he was still calling. However, teams make changes week to week.
And when did you last talk to him?
Whenever it was, we were playing with him a week ago.
Okay, so there's no reason for that to change, correct?
I'm not saying there's no reason. Look at CD. They, coming up on their last match day, they decided
That's
to
actually
switch
true.
callers.
Switch callers, and they did very well. Yeah.
So not. Well, calling is an important skill to master. There are a lot of different players that can do it. Sometimes, it's a multiple calling. Sometimes they just decide, all right, this one person's calling style's not working out. So let's just switch to another caller.
We see Smiley Ridge calling for Team CD, and he's putting up 8,500 damage.
Yep. Now that could also, that's another tricky
we saw
stat
you
to get
calling
into.
as well for your team, not so much putting up the damage.
Ouch.
You know what I'm saying? Are you picking up what I'm putting down?
Yeah, I deserve that one after earlier. I could take that.
All right, there we go.
Okay, now we're even 1-1.
All right, going into once again trying to go into battle number 4 as we head into these disconnects. Thank you for bearing with us. It's going to be obviously the same lineup. These teams are not allowed to switch tanks on a disconnect. So,
yep, already revealing their lineup. They don't want to give an unfair advantage to a team that decides, all right, we want to change things. However, still no Blue Mini for High.
So I mean, I'm assuming at this point his computer's fixed, but things are working. So, like we said
I
earlier,
haven't actually seen him reconnect to the training room at all. So it may be just that his power's out, or his internet's out, or something with his computer just went terribly wrong to where he hasn't been able to reboot up. We may never know, but when we find out, we'll let you guys know. Meanwhile, Warbander's firing a shot off there into the distance.
And their 07 is actually going to decide to go for a little bit of early cap pressure here.
Now, using the 113, however, Makos is going to get there in front of him, and he's going to try to get to this corner. However, he gets tracked and then rammed, and down goes
DRS
Makos.
Is going to take out Makos immediately. I believe he was the one that died first in the last battle as well, correct?
He got caught out in that object 430.
That's 2 in a row, man. That's very unfortunate. A bounce coming off of Feel My Potato there, and then a bounce off of DRS.
Now, the play he went for, I don't mind. However, he got caught out doing it, so a bit of a problem. Being that bat chat, he can most likely clip out that 113.
I feel like this game is going to get really ugly really quick here.
Yep. Now, the thing is, Batchat couldn't kill him by himself, but he was hoping that the 113s from his team that pushed up towards the village could turn around and shoot him.
A lot of shots actually coming out to Warbander here between Fulcris and Romstar as they do dwindle down Warbander's HP. And he's going to go down a dramatic indeed, as we now see quite a surmountable lead in favor of High as far as the HP pool goes. Foster also taking some shots. Static as well. They're trying to get some shots and damage on a Feel My Potato and Dramatic. They're going to get a little bit, but still the trades are definitely coming in favor for Team High.
Yep, Feel My Potato getting set on fire there.
He's cooking. And he
lit like a matchbox.
Oh my goodness. Foster going to finish it off.
He goes down.
Fulcris now taking shots at Static. Dramatic is going to try to peek over the corpse of his fallen teammate. They're going to be able to take out Static, Romstar, and the Batshot. And now Zone Delta is pushed in a quite bad situation, although Fulcrus in the 50B is reloading that autoloader. Dramatic is one shot away from going down, and he's going to be picked up by Zone Delta. Very ballsy, but also very good play to recognize that 50B was reloading. Now it's Ali the Persian dude in the IS-4 pushing down Zone Delta with the help of Romstar, taking some damage, but Zone Delta should go down in the next shot. That's going to be it. And now there is only 3 tanks left for Team 07 as DRS still holds this corner and is looking for a shot onto Rox in that 430.
Rox just playing the low ground, being hard to hit down there in that little 430. Does have a pretty low profile. However, not a whole lot he can do. They are down on HP by about 4,000, closer to 5.
Rox getting a little bit of a snap there, not bad. Putting some damage on a Magenta Panda, but still, they're going to need a lot more if 07 wants to climb back into this. I mean, at this point, it's also going to be almost impossible for 07 to make a comeback here. They're down quite a bit of HP. They have only 3 tanks to the 5 of Team High, and not all of, in fact, none of those tanks out of Team High are going to be one shot, which means they're at least going to get one shot off on Team 07.
Yep, and the thing is right now is these tanks from 07 are pretty much boxed in here. Ali the Persian dude and Fulcrus both on full HP. Just going to push in.
Oh yeah, they're going to cruise right on it.
Not even going to worry about it. Even the gun of that Girl 15 being down there, they're just going to choose to eat the shell. Ali the Persian dude is just going to keep driving on. And they both find...
Good night, Irene. Every single tank died at the same time there for Team 07 as High is going to dominate battle number 4.
So 3-1, a little bit closer to actually putting some points up on the board.
Yeah, and again, this is something that High does really need. I mean, 07 arguably are safe and they are gatekeeping, but even still, I mean, if we see something miraculous come out of CD against Eclipse and they actually will end up winning, although they are losing right now to Aquaticum 60s, I mean, that's still points on the board that 07 can't afford to give away. Obviously, neither can High, but they're up 3-1 in the series right now.
Yep, and so this is a big step for High. Picking up 3 points here would move them at least safe temporarily from the drop. And that would, it'd be up to get flanked and Rival to start picking up some points. So, the pressure would kind of be taken off their shoulders a little bit. They'd still like to feel like they get some more points after this.
Correct. Well, we'll have to see what happens. I mean, let's take a quick look at the damage here. And we do notice that Fulcrus, Romstar, and Ali the Persian dude all sitting at a very comfortable 2,600 to 3K spread. And then Zone Delta and Fosta actually coming in for 07, doing respectable damage as well. We see 113 of Zone Delta doing 25, almost 2,600 damage, and Fosta doing 2K. Unfortunately for the team of 07, it drops off pretty dramatically from there. Meanwhile, the team of High is still consistently around the 2K mark in 1,500, with only Feel My Potato and Magenta Panda being at the very bottom.
Yep, so not really able to get anything going there. DRS, the one that pushed down into that bottom corner, he was trying to get some shots in the tanks there. However, 07 was just dropping so fast, he couldn't really even pump out a lot of damage.
Something to note, though, real quick, if we look at Fosta doing that 2K, I mean, that's in the 1390. That's pretty damn respectable damage.
He was able to pick off some kills, and I think a lot of that comes from he set that 215B on fire, I believe it was him.
He did.
And so he got all the damage for it burning out. So, it came down to almost around 2,000 just burning out alone. So most of that's just going to be from shooting that 215B.
Yep. Well, it is now going to be the turn of 07 to see if they can bring it back. We'll have to see. And we are going to be moving into the next map here, which I will not spoil, but I do want to know, just so I can give an easier prediction here. It is going to... Oh, interesting. Okay, well, without further ado, I'm being told that we're going right into it, so let's check out the very third map of 07 and High.
Mines, a small summertime map with lots of hills, rocks and other cover. The teams start the battle in the usual locations, but the base locations are different. One is located in the bottom part of the village, and the other one is in the water. One of the key objectives is the center hill. That's why the teams will often select fast vehicles and tanks with strong turrets for cover.
All right, as we now head into the fifth battle here between Team High and Team 07. I said the very third map because I was thinking it was the last map, assuming that High was going to win the last two.
We'll have to see because it is
We will
on
have to
Mines.
see. So this is on Mines. I've noticed that High has actually done fairly well. This is kind of one of their better maps.
Yep, another thing to note, Blue Mini returning into the starting lineup.
Ah, there he is.
So going over the lineup here, 07.
07, I got you, buddy. Don't worry. We have 1, 2, 3 Bat Chats as well as 2 Bat Chat Tier 9 APs. An E100, interesting, and then an auto. Wow, a very bursty team out of 07 here. At High, choosing to go with a more traditional lineup of a 113, 2 Bat Chats, a TVP. Excuse me, they're actually going to have 3 Bat Chats themselves. Wow, this is a very bursty lineup from both teams, actually, now that I noticed the failed boost there, by the way. And then the only tank that you have that's not a auto-loader on the team of High is actually going to be the 251 of Blue Mini, and you...
The 113 of Fuel My Potato as well.
Or, excuse me, as well. And then on the opposite side of 07, the only non-auto loader is going to be that E100 out of Static. A lot of HP, big, heavy German tank. So it's interesting to see, because we normally see more like 113s. We'll also see heavier tanks of the rear, maybe an E5 on this map, but not so many auto loaders on both teams, of which we're seeing right now.
Yeah, so they're going with a lot of light tanks so they can flex around. With this map being so small, it's very easy for one team to react to the other. And so when you have those opportunities where you really need to pounce on it, you need to be quick. You'd think this is a map where heavy tanks would do well, but typically trying to get into these positions, there's a lot of
something to note really quick. It looks like DRS is going for the solo climb on that F0 line where we so often see many tanks now taking the position of there, and it usually is an autoloader, by the way. It always ends up sitting at that hill.
It's not necessarily has to be an autoloader.
But that's just what we've seen.
Well, the reason they do it is because the Bat Chat has the better terrain resistance, and it's fast enough to get up there. There's not a lot of tanks that can do that boost, especially by itself. Typically, the Bat Chat, some of the light tanks like an RU-251, I've seen a T-49 do it, but not all the tanks could do it. A Leopard probably could, but I don't believe a Russian 140, for example, could make that climb by itself without being boosted.
Definitely not an E100.
No. Even being boosted, that would be a feat in itself.
E100s have struggles just getting over hills and dips in and of itself.
Yep, so DRS does get lit, so they know he's up here, which that's going to be a problem.
I mean,
but
either way, the fact is that he's up there, and even dealing with a tank that you know is up there still can be an issue.
Exactly, and now we'll have to see if High try to recreate a very similar play that we saw out of Apex, shifting their tanks over to the 7-8 line, trying to make a play out of there with the Bat Chat up on top. However, they are set up better to deal with it. They have that Bat Chat over at J9 of EXO right here, who's just sitting here. He's going to be a real pain to dig out. Fosta is a little bit exposed, so he would probably be the first one to drop. However, High choosing not to go that route just yet. They still have majority of the tanks on the hill, and Romstar and that TP is actually going to back away and start heading back towards the 5 line.
Interesting. Very interesting indeed.
Now, this is another little cheeky spot that they have out of the Persian dude, and it's a good spot to defend the rear, essentially.
Punish, yeah.
It's made to punish rotate around the north end from either side. If they go down the 1 line and the team tries to push up towards the 7-8 or push tanks on the hill, he has good shots up there, and he's really hard to dig out. Just the same thing if they try to go for a 1-cap play and they manage to force those Bat Chats out of the south base. If they try to rotate through the north or through the hill, they'll have good shots from up there to also get some shots. So, clever spot. I don't know that I'd want to leave a tank up there by itself for so long. However, they're opting to go for it. Magenta Panda.
A lot of damage coming out of Magenta Panda here as he needs to get out of there still. Wow, look at how many shots are being thrown his way. Magenta Panda very riskily trying to look for a shot over there across the field, but he's going to take a little bit of damage. One more shot. Oh, get out of there. Don't expose. He takes a shot from the front, and he's still alive.
It's actually DRS up, or not DRS. It was EXO over there that found an angle on him to get that shot off onto him. EXO down to 2 shots in his clip. DRS still has 4. DRS just looking around here, not really finding any shots that he's happy with. But Magenta Panda on 58 HP. The E100 rifling a shot off the range.
Nice, cheeky little, huge shot there as he takes away 700 alpha there in one shot. That E100 is an obnoxious behemoth to play against.
Yeah, and not a very
Armor
accurate gun
for days
at all.
Slow. annoying, damaging. Sure, again, it's slow and,
It
the,
hits
the
hard.
accuracy isn't great, but
its DPM is actually relatively low despite hitting pretty hard because it does have a 16-second reload even with rations. So, 750 damage every 16 seconds, essentially.
that's pretty deplorable damage.
So
but
it only gets off, 3.5 shots essentially, however you want to say it, in that time span, I guess 4 minutes if the first shot's fired once the timer starts. So even then, that only comes in around 2,800, which is not a lot of damage compared to, say, a 215B or a T57.
And we are witnessing, once again, a slower paced battle from both of these teams. But something to note is there only is 4 minutes and 30 seconds left on that clock, James.
Yeah, however, it is 07's match to lose. They're up by
Absolutely.
about 3,000. They have already essentially killed the tank.
They're still on defense.
However, I say that they've almost already killed the tank. A gun alive on any amount of HP is still a gun alive.
Doesn't matter if you win by an inch or a mile. You know what I'm saying? Have you ever heard that quote?
Yep.
A win's a win, my man.
Exactly. So as long as he cannot get picked off, he can still dump his clip in there. Meanwhile, the push is coming out.
And here it comes, all out warfare from Team High, but they are taking considerable damage coming in as Fosta is going to be eliminated by Ali the Persian Dude and Fulcris, as well as Robstar taking shots in there. Static now in that E100 in a very bad spot considering the position of these tanks from High, but Zone Delta going to push in with Makos as well, and they should be able to get some shots onto Feel My Potato. Here comes Rockstar on the corner as well. DRS is firing shots in the distance, trying to get as much damage on field as possible. Static taking quite a bit of damage in that. 113 to Feel My Potato is gone, as is Magenta Panda's Bat Chat, as they are now cleaning up the field. 07 in a very good position. EXO is hiding now behind that rock as he drops his clip. A lot of trades going in favor of Team 07 here.
So Fostek getting caught out just like I was worried about a minute ago, but 07 doing a very good job at capitalizing on that push, understanding, once again, like I talk about, when you know tanks are in one place, they're not in another, so they were able to group up and take the order match on the hill.
Yeah, but Ali the Persian Dude still taking out Static, and Zone Delta taking a little bit of damage as well. This is definitely still in the realm of possibility here for Team High, but it's going to be very difficult as time is also not on their side with only 2 minutes and 50 seconds left on the clock. And another thing to note here is that we have DRS still up on that hill. He's got to take time to get down.
He already has a dead commander from when he took a shot earlier, so
and that was probably the shot from the E100.
May have been, and it looks like EXO is actually going up after him, and he does have the HP, so EXO would win a one-on-one provided he doesn't whiff a shot.
Wait a second. Shots here. DRS is trying to get shots on the Zone Delta, and he's going to find all three of them. Very nice. That actually could potentially help to tip the scales back in his favor as Ali the Persian Dude and Fulcris are about to have a fight between Warbander and Rox. And wait a second, from behind here comes EXO. One more shot should be able to take him out, and there it is. Warbander's going to clean up Fulcris, and that is going to do it and clean up the rest of Team High for 07. I was completely incorrect. This is not going to be the very last match between these two teams. It is actually going to be, we are going to go to another map, but right now it is 3-2 as High still trails, but 07 bringing it back a game on Mines.
Yeah, very solid defense there. I'm still not a big fan of this extremely campy K-line defenses we've been seeing out of a lot of teams.
And we've seen it almost out of every team. I mean, even Apex and Eclipse have done it.
Yep, playing it a little bit safe. I kind of missed the days back when everyone just ran for the hill and it was just massive chaotic brawls from the very start of the round.
I mean, it is somewhat Cliff-esque because of how small it is. Mines obviously being a little bit of a smaller map than Cliff, but we do not see brawls. I mean, Mines is played as a much slower map in this format and this season. So,
and part of it has to do. Things really started to kind of change to go away from that brawl meta once we saw the introduction of the TVPs 3 or 4 patches ago.
Right.
Just because they dumped so much damage early, no one could really get tanks up onto the hill safely. And they started coming up. There were just so many different hill push counters where teams were just punishing their team for pushing up and taking the hill. And so teams have started shifting away from it, not wanting to risk it that early. Looking at the damage here, DRS doing 3,100 in that bat shot up on the cliff. However, it wasn't enough to carry his team. Warbander and EXO coming in pretty strong there for 07. Fulcris at 1,900 and Ali the Persian Dude down at 1,500. Makos and Zone Delta in their bat shots doing some damage. A little bit low for both of them, but gets the job done. Another thing to look at there is Makos firing 12 shots. but only doing 1,500 damage. So he didn't even get a full clip of damage off, essentially.
No, he did not.
You'd expect more, almost, at some point.
Here's another thing to note. Static in that E100 firing 6 shots, only landing that one onto the tank of DRS, which was the bat shot. He got another direct hit, but only 1 penetration. So that was the shot. It was fired 731 points of damage onto none other than DRS. And that was it was a funny shot because it hurt. It looked like it hurt. But unfortunately, not much more out of that. But the E100, again, you bring it because it is that heavy armor.
Mm-hmm. And just a little update real quick on the offline score. It is AM60's 3, CD 2. So CD getting back into that fight a little bit.
Oh, really?
Yep,
Okay,
so not
so
done
CD
not
trying to
yet.
bring it back. Let's hope that the same thing that happened at Quad M60s when they get flanked doesn't happen when they're playing CD now, because as we remember, it was actually get flanked coming back, and that's what really started to tilt the team of Aquatic M60s. And I hope we don't see that again. Hopefully they just shrug it off, but yeah.
So we're on to battle number 6. Lineups coming here. 07 bringing 3 bat jets, 2 113s, a TVP, and an M4043. Meanwhile, High deciding to bring a 113, 2 TVPs, 3 bat jets, and an RU-251.
Wow, and starting off very early, DRS is going to take quite a bit of damage as they're now trying to trade as much as possible here in the midfield here around the E and F lines. And Rox is going to take quite a bit of damage as well. Romstar going in for more shots, trying to get trades. Feel My Potato over in that 113, stepping over to take another shot onto Rox. And Static relatively unscathed here as he's going to bounce a few shots and take some into DRS, trying to finish off that tank. But wait, from the other side now, here comes Zone Delta and Exo. This is an all-out brawl, and already we find 3 tanks of Team High very low, but 2 already gone as Rox and Static get eliminated off the field. Zone Delta now about to get taken out as Robstar and that TVP going to take him out, and then Warbander now trades out DRS. This is crazy.
Blue Mini's going to come around and find the kill onto Warbander in just a second. However, he whiffs the shot. The heat shell fizzing out on the tracks. Warbander's going to try to drive away. Blue Mini should have a shot.
He's going to have him there. And just like that, Team High, although they do have a large tank lead, their HP pool lead is not that big, but it is now up to Exo and Fossa to take out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 tanks from Team High.
And Fossa still on reload there. The little white bar above his tank is his reload timer for those just tuning in.
Oh, nice shots from Ali the Persian dude, and I believe that was Fulcris. That was beautiful teamwork there to find Exo right in the butt.
And Blue Mini does take down Fossa. Exo down to a 1-shot.
Romstar, that was textbook teamwork there. High very quickly able to take out every single one of those tanks. Early they took out the, let me see, what was it, the two 113s, Rox and Static of Team 07 got eliminated almost right off the bat. And then from there, it was a little bit of a scramble and trade, whereas Team High was losing a lot of HP, although not losing any tanks. And from there, they were really able to just clean up the rest of the team of 07, and very well done. I mean, that's the type, we were just talking about it, we never really get to see that type of aggressive play coming out of the Mines teams in this format, as well as this season. But man, that's what I want to see. I want to see brawls.
Yeah,
I want to see fisticuffs.
And part of
it,
part of it, you could even say, is High just taking advantage of the meta with people not going for the hill. They kind of caught them off guard.
Yeah, why not?
The North actually, historically, has had the quicker spawn to the hill. Normally, the North is the one that'll get there first and have the advantage to it. So normally what happens is the team in the South normally tries to set up to punish a team taking, and with the North being the attacking side, normally they'd risk it, and then it went back to the South. You know, they started to punish the South tanks.
James, sometimes you got to risk it for the biscuit. You know what I'm saying?
Yep, exactly.
You got to do it.
That's what High did there, and it worked out for them. They are up 4-2, one round away from picking up 3 points, and they've already guaranteed themselves at least 1 point, barring
which may not seem like a lot, but that 1 point is huge, especially for them sitting at that danger of being relegated out. Again, you do not want to get relegated out right before we go into this damage. $325,000. That's a lot of money, man. And then on top of that, you get to go to the NA season finals, and then you get a chance to qualify for all these other things: the Channel Rumble, Champion Rumble, Global Finals. Anyways, I get ahead of myself.
So as I was just talking about before the last battle started, we saw the shift come away from the Hill Brawl because of the introduction of those TVPs. And looking at it, Fulcris and Romstar both in TVPs, 2600 and 2100, so getting to that hill very early, doing a lot of damage. Feel My Potato coming in strong at 3100, and top 407 is Exo at 1900. So not able to do a whole lot there, and it's actually their TVP that's second for 07, coming in there strong at 1700.
So if I may interrupt you really quick, my favorite thing about Team High right now, I absolutely love the integration and teamwork from Feel My Potato and from Romstar. I think those two add so much to the team of High, and I think they have been a huge benefit in revitalizing this team overall. I think High is much better off for them. We've seen High perform much better overall with them, and it's just great to see.
Well, it brings in, two players that have played the league before. They talked, Smiley Rage talked to us early in the season about having new inexperienced players that they kind of shift. And the problem is that they don't have a whole lot of learning time. You got to go, you got to pick up points, and that's something they've been struggling to do. And the new players not quite adjusting the way they wanted.
And you only have a few weeks just to see if you can stay without getting relegated. So it puts a lot of pressure on these young newcomers, and it's tough.
And so they brought in the experience of Romstar and Feel My Potato, and they've kind of adjusted into this lineup very well.
Right.
They're performing pretty consistently, which, once again, that's what you'd expect out of them. They've been in the Gold League
that's
before.
why they were brought in.
Exactly, and so it's just kind of brought in some stability into a system that works. Just maybe some players in the system not quite understanding their role, not able to work as well as a team, and it kind of cost High so far this season.
Yeah, but, they're better off for it now as we potentially go into the final map here between Team 07 and TM High.
Murovanka, a map with a great number of buildings, bushes and trees, amongst which teams hide for most of the battle. The attacking team begins the battle from the top of the village, and the defenders start from the bottom of the map. Both bases are better controlled from the hill near the first base, and from the green in the lower left corner of the map. There are many attack directions. The attacking team often attempts to gain the attention of defenders by putting pressure on the first base, whilst manoeuvring several tanks behind the second base to deliver fire into the defending's flank. Team setups are very diverse, but the players often choose the fastest tanks, even for heavy setups. They could even bring SPGs.
So something to note, we haven't seen almost any SPGs in the last couple of broadcasts. I think we saw one last broadcast, didn't work, they immediately swapped it out.
And Fulcrus bringing it last round, not doing a whole lot. But we're on to round number 7. Looking at the lineups here, High bringing 2 257s, an E5, an IS-7, an STB, a Batchat, and a 1390.
Meanwhile, 07 bringing an E5, 5 Batchats, and a 1390.
So bringing a whole lot of burst, and they're actually going for a rather cheeky 8-9 line play. We'll have to see how quickly High can recognize
I believe it was you that said that we don't really normally see a one-cap play anymore, this season at least.
We really haven't seen too many of them.
I think we saw it once, and that was out of Apex or Eclipse.
I want to say it was out of Apex.
Okay.
However, going into this battle, the rather cheeky play coming out of 07, clearing the forest, just showing the one Batchat over towards the one cap. Now, here's the problem that a lot of teams run into is these tanks all the way over in the forest, they're really going to struggle to get back there to help reset this one cap, and it looks like they're already jamming 3 tanks onto this cap, so they're not going to have a whole lot of time to respawn.
Wow, very quick.
They're going to use Romstar on the inside there. He's not even on cap, but he's just in position to make sure he eats any shells for Blue Mini.
If you are looking for cover, an E5 and an I7 is a very delicious sandwich of armor that you want to be in between, if you know what I'm saying.
Absolutely. And that 1390 has the cap pressure. He's going to be hard to reset.
Please continue. Talk to me, man. Just because my analogies are awesome doesn't mean you got to lose yourself. You know what I'm saying? Well, with 25 seconds left here on the battle, 15 now. As Team High is going to take a little bit of damage for the resets. Romstar, you're killing me, James. Romstar taking some damage. Rocks taking 774. Fulcrus finding the shots.
T-57 is just holding back there. They haven't really been spotted, except for Ali the Persian dude, who does get spotted now as he's starting to fire his clip. Romstar taking a lot of damage. He will likely go down here in just a moment. Exo trying to find that last kill shot on him.
Still, though, if he dies, his tank is left there as... Oh, my goodness, Blue Mini, beautiful stuff. Oh, but there's the reset that they so desperately needed to find, but still, 07 is not out of it yet. Exo, not too much health left.
However, this does work out for High. They are up on HP.
Yes,
doing what they need to do by this bait. They forced the response out of 07. They made them panic. They took a little while to figure out what they wanted to do, and they had to rush in.
Still a lot of damage, though, coming out of Ali the Persian dude as they turn it around very quickly. That Batchat is going to be reloading, and Fulcrus just firing his shot straight down into the dirt. Luckily, DRS picking up the kill on Makos there. But that could have been a lot worse for Team High.
Well, High did exactly what they needed to do in that sort of situation. They forced that cap pressure. They made 07 panic and have to come up with a quick response.
Ooh, full Chris, nice. On a Warbander.
And the response just wasn't quick enough out of 07. They had to drive into a lot of guns that were sitting there hold
and like
down.
you said, they took a cheeky, risky play.
Yep, and that's why I've never really been a big fan out of that sort of push. And that kind of shows why. And very good on high to recognize that was coming through. They hadn't even spotted that
little
push.
Sandwich right there. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
and it was unfortunate that Blue Mini got spotted because they could have stuck the cap. However, once they knew they didn't have the cap pressure.
We've gone dark, James.
Once they knew they had the cap pressure, they were able to.
Tears. That is going to be it. Team High is going to take it. James, you can't